Well, of course, there are many things that is quite different compared to Hong Kong and China. Now, one of the things is we have the freedom of speech. You are welcome to use any languages like English, you can speak Putonghua, or Cantonese as you like, because just like what I'm going to show you, like this street that I'm currently at, we have the liberty to choose what we want. But the thing that is slightly different is we do have some problem recently in using Cantonese and Putonghua. So I'm just going to let you see what's the current problem. Now I'm going to show you a clip from South China Morning Post. It documented an incident happened like a few months ago in Hong Kong Baptist University. Basically, the incident is about that the students were having a problem in passing a Mandarin examination, because the Mandarin examination is not just examination for one of the subjects, but it's actually graduation requirements in here. But more than 70% of students cannot complete the examination. So that creates a problem, and you can also try to take a look on how they respond for these issues.
You're threatening us, I believe.
根本上最基本就係一個考試有一個量化準則，唔係如果點解我哋要考試啫？以前 DSE 都做到，點解我哋學校做唔到啊
？Department Head 你喺呢邊又同我哋講話冇第二份 rubric， 我哋頭先喺入面聽到另外一番説話喎。
係咯。
本身重考呢樣 ULP 傾過喎 ，Department Head 唔知喎，班補老師亂出嘅喎啲嘢。
啊！大學老師而家同你講定，即係首先你盡職責，你企喺度得啱。咪之後你企俾佢企個位。
打壓學生可恥，打壓學生可恥，守護程序公義，守護程序公義。
We are requesting the principal to cancel the punishment to those to students. We think that this is an unjust treatment to those students.
The final goal for our students' union is also need to cancelling the Putonghua graduation requirement. Student unions still think that the right for speaking about the opinion on school policy should not be violent by the school.
The situation in Hong Kong Baptist University is not an isolated case, because Mandarin as a Chinese requirement is actually quite a common thing in many other universities, like in HJEST, like in many other universities in Hong Kong, because Chinese is considered as business language in many regions, and the business part that is usually talking about is to use Putonghua to communicate with places in China, because Putonghua or Mandarin is the common tongue that is commonly used across different provinces in China. So that's why the competence level that they want to improve in terms of Chinese language is not the Cantonese part, but the Chinese part. To help you to understand how the rise of the modern China and also the use of simplified Chinese, how it was actually being invented during that time, I'm just going to show you a very short clip that I've found, and then has a very simple explanations to explain how this has all happened.
On this episode of China Uncensored, the difference between simplified and traditional Chinese characters. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your pontificator of Proverbs, Chris Chappell. So I recently did an episode about the One China policy, describing the current political situation between Taiwan and China, mainland China that is, since both the Taiwanese government and the mainland government consider themselves to be the legitimate government of China. A lot of you asked me about the differences between simplified Chinese characters, the writing system used in the mainland, and traditional Chinese characters, the system of writing used in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau, and by many overseas Chinese. So today I'll explain it for you. Traditional Chinese characters used to be just Chinese characters. In very ancient China, there were several different writing systems for different feudal states, but by the time of the Han Dynasty, the character writing system stabilized and basically remains unchanged until today. In fact, Chinese characters are simply called Hanzi, or characters of the Han. So technically, if you can read traditional characters, you can read anything written in the past 2,000 years. Now, try to read Middle English.
1 April, with its Sutta, the drought of March has passed to the Rota.
And that was used just 600 years ago. Simplified characters, on the other hand, first came into use in the 50s. The Communist Party had only recently seized control over the mainland and began systematically eradicating traditional Chinese culture, replacing it with communist ideology. So in a precursor to the Cultural Revolution, which saw the destruction of the four olds, old customs, old culture, old habits, old ideas, they targeted the writing system first. You see, Chinese characters, or what was now being called traditional Chinese characters, contain within them the traditional culture and thought of China. Each character tells a story. Now, the communists said they were replacing traditional Chinese characters to improve literacy rates, which makes no sense because they shut down schools for years, but the real reason was so they could disconnect people from their culture and roots. If you only know simplified characters, you can't read traditional texts. Since the Song dynasty, the Chinese have used the three-character classic to teach their children how to read and write, and also important values and morals. The three-character classic begins, "People at birth are naturally good. Their natures are similar, but their habits make them different from each other." Except that didn't really jive with the image the Chinese regime was trying to paint of ancient China, that it was superstitious, feudalistic, and oppressive. At the same time, Mao felt struggle was essential to communism and tried to entwine conflict and fighting into daily life. Parents against children, husband against wife, brother against brother. Really, it's like Newspeak created by the all-powerful party in George Orwell's 1984. So for example, there's the character qin, which refers to intimate relations between family. The simplified character removes jin, the character for to see, so you have family you don't see. Then there's I, love. The simplified character removes xin, or heart, so you're left with love without heart. Chan, to give birth, takes out the character for life. Dao, to lead, loses dao, or direction. Then there's nonsensical ones like Chang, factory, now empty on the inside. Jin, the character for advance, that in its traditional form is made of the character to walk and a high and lofty place, so you walk to grand heights when you advance. But the simplified version is made up of walk and well, a dark hole in the ground which you can drown in. That makes sense considering the Great Leap Forward, the Dayue Jin, resulted in a famine that killed 43 million people. It was quite the advancement. Actually, originally they wanted to do away with the character writing system altogether and replace it with pinyin, a system of romanizing the characters, but it would have been totally impractical because of the number of homophones and the many different dialects in China. So considering literacy rates are really higher in Taiwan and Hong Kong with traditional Chinese characters, indicating that simplifying them didn't really help to boost the rate in mainland, and the fact that simplified characters were just a means of derooting China from its history and culture, maybe we should all start learning traditional Chinese characters again. What do you guys think? Comment below or write to me on China Uncensored's Facebook or Twitter account. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Be sure to check back tomorrow for another new episode.
So you can see that the use of language is basically not just simply a tool. There are also many political agenda behind it. You can try to think about that now, while we have two different cultures trying to being merged together, that's what's happening in Hong Kong. So that is also a reason that why not only how we speak becomes a problem, how we write has also become another issue as well. What I'm just going to show you right now is by having some students of mine that they are going to talk about what they think about the use of Cantonese and Putonghua as a spoken language, and also the use of simplified Chinese and the traditional Chinese as a written language as well. So let's take a look. So what do you think about like using Cantonese and Putonghua in Hong Kong? So it's just anybody.
Actually, I think Putonghua is. I don't think Putonghua is something bad. You can use Putonghua, but not saying that Cantonese is worse than Putonghua, or we should use Putonghua and not using Cantonese. I think like every place has its own culture, and Cantonese is some special cultures like in Hong Kong. I don't think Putonghua should replace it. That is very like it is a core value like Hong Kong culture. No Cantonese, no Hong Kong. I just think.
Yes, I think so. And at the same time, I think for using the traditional Chinese or the simplified Chinese is I think is their own behavior, therefore ourselves. That I think I doesn't like the other people that maybe sometimes have to discriminate because of what they're using. Because maybe on some social media, people like to argue that should Hong Kong people use simplified Chinese or the traditional Chinese. I think this decided by themselves and that's their behavior. And just I think both of them we need to learn because we need to know what the other people are writing or what they want to express. But it doesn't mean that any of them need to replace each other. Therefore, I think it's all of them are our behavior.
Just like we need to learn English to communicate with the foreigners, but not using English to replace Cantonese or replace Chinese characters to fit the global needs.
Also, not every simplified Chinese word is readable for Hong Kong people. Maybe some no common word, maybe Hong Kong people can read it, but for some more complicated words structure, Hong Kong people may not can read the meaning of the same word in Chinese word. And also, I watched the way we need to use Putonghua is when we feel any tourism and they ask for any help and we use the Putonghua. And in our daily life, more of the time we don't use the Putonghua. And if for writing, the simplified Chinese word is usually used for some writing, for some quick time for test, maybe for test or for something, for some meeting.
Yeah, you need to use less time in writing.
Yes.
However, traditional Chinese is just a better language. Each word, each letter contain more meanings than the simplified one. The simplified one is more like the chopped one. You chop something out and you lost our original meaning, you lost our history. And first, I think that we should continue to use traditional Chinese, especially in Hong Kong, in a place that we have used traditional Chinese for a long time ago, since a long time ago.
Just that very famous example, the Chinese characters love. There is no part to simplify.
For me, I think using simplified Chinese is a politically wrong thing to do so. It's because, generally speaking, Hong Kong is still different from China. So I think it's more appropriate to use traditional Chinese rather than simplified Chinese.
Yes. Actually, does it mean that they are similar? Traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese are similar? Does it mean that we can replace it? We can lose our origin in our culture? I don't think so.
Personally think actually using simplified or traditional Chinese in Hong Kong is still okay. For mainstream, if you think using simplified Chinese characters in Hong Kong is to considered to be right thing, I don't think so because most Hong Kong people use traditional Chinese characters and I don't think there is any reasons for simplified Chinese character to replace traditional characters.
The interesting part that is you'll notice that yes, it seems the university students are quite trying to be neutral, but you can hear that some of them do actually have opinions about using 普通话 or what we say Mandarin, and using simplified Chinese as well. And it's not just because of the language, but it's more related to how they feel towards the mainland China and how they feel towards the identity of being part of the Hong Konger. So I think that's an interesting part that we all can try to think about. How can we actually solve it, since we want to preserve Cantonese as well, but at the same time, Mandarin or 普通话 is being put as a compulsory component, not just only in university, but it has been introduced as part of the formal curriculum in primary and secondary schools as well. The use of simplified Chinese is also something that you can also try to think about, since we have two different types of writing system that is in Hong Kong. But again, the traditional Chinese writing is the major writing that we receive education in here, but the simplified Chinese is indeed having a rising importance. So how should we think about it? Should we just think about it as just a tool? But we know that it's a bit difficult indeed to just separate these two and think about, okay, this is just a tool, especially in the current political situation in Hong Kong. So that helps you to get to know a little bit more about the situation, I hope.